The irony isn't lost on me that the security system I installed to protect my wife became the very thing that exposed her betrayal. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Nathan. I'm 34, and I work as a night shift nurse in the ICU at Metropolitan General Hospital. It's demanding work, life and death decisions, exhausted families, the constant weight of responsibility. But it pays well, and after 8 years of marriage to my wife Olivia, we'd built what I thought was a solid life together. She's 31, works as an administrative assistant at a marketing firm, and until 2 months ago, I would have sworn on my life that we were happy. Our neighborhood, Maple Heights, used to be the kind of place where people left their doors unlocked. Tree-lined streets, well-maintained lawns, the works. But over the past 6 months, we'd had a string of break-ins. 3 houses on our block alone were hit, all during nighttime hours. The Hendersons next door had their entire living room cleaned out while they slept upstairs. Mrs. Chen across the street came home to find her back door kicked in and her grandmother's jewelry gone. Working nights 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays, meant leaving Olivia alone from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. The break-ins made me increasingly anxious about her safety. She's petite, maybe 5'3" on a good day, and while she's got spirit, she's no match for an intruder. The thought of something happening to her while I was 40 minutes away at the hospital kept me awake during my off hours, so I invested in a comprehensive security system. We're talking the works. Cameras covering every angle of our property, motion sensors, smart locks, the whole 9 yards. The installation took 2 days, and I made sure every blind spot was covered. Front door, back door, side gate, driveway, even the little window by the laundry room that barely anyone would think to check. Olivia was surprisingly enthusiastic about the whole thing. "I'll sleep so much better knowing you're watching over me even when you're not here," she said, wrapping her arms around my waist as the technician finished mounting the final camera. "It's like having a guardian angel." The system came with an app that let me monitor everything from my phone. During slow nights at the hospital, I'd sometimes check in just to see her reading on the couch or getting ready for bed. It gave me peace of mind, and she seemed to appreciate the extra layer of protection. About 2 months ago, Olivia started talking about personal growth. She'd picked up some books about self-improvement, started meditation apps, the usual midlife evaluation stuff that people go through. I was supportive. After 8 years together, we'd both changed and evolved, and I wanted her to explore whatever made her happy. Then she mentioned the yoga classes. "There's this amazing instructor, Sage, who runs evening sessions specifically for women," she explained over dinner one Tuesday night. "It's more than just poses. She incorporates mindfulness, group discussion, really deep stuff about feminine energy and emotional healing." The timing was convenient. The classes happened to be on Tuesday and Thursday evenings, coinciding perfectly with my work schedule. "That's great, babe. I love that you're finding ways to connect with other women." She beamed at my response. "And there's also this support group that meets Saturday nights. Women helping women through life transitions, career changes, relationship challenges." "Not that we have relationship challenges," she added quickly, "but I think I could help other women who do. I found it admirable. My wife, taking time to better herself and help others." The Olivia who came home from these sessions was radiant, energized in a way I hadn't seen in years. She'd talk animatedly about the connections she was making, the breakthroughs in her personal development, how much clearer she felt about her life's direction. "These women are incredible," she'd say, eyes bright with excitement. "We're really building something special together. A sisterhood, you know?" I was genuinely happy for her. Night shift work can be isolating for both of us. I'm dealing with the stress of critical care while she's home alone, and our schedules don't always align for quality time together. Having her own social circle, her own interests and growth opportunities felt like exactly what our marriage needed. If I'm being honest, part of me was also relieved. Guilt is a constant companion for night shift workers. The knowledge that your partner is alone, managing the household, living their life around your unconventional schedule. Knowing Olivia had found fulfilling activities during my work nights lifted that burden from my shoulders. For 8 weeks, this became our routine. I'd kiss her goodbye at 6:30 p.m. She'd head out for her various evening activities, and I'd come home to find her sleeping peacefully, often with a small smile on her face. She'd wake up refreshed and happy, ready to tell me about whatever profound conversation or breakthrough she'd experienced the night before. I should have known something was wrong when she stopped inviting me to meet any of these life-changing women she'd been spending so much time with. The discovery happened on a Wednesday night in late October. I'd picked up an extra shift to cover for a colleague whose daughter was in the school play, but the shift got cancelled last minute when our patient census dropped unexpectedly. Instead of calling Olivia to let her know I was coming home early, she was supposed to be at her Thursday yoga session, I decided to surprise her with takeout from her favorite Thai place. Driving home around 11 p.m., I felt that warm anticipation of an unexpected evening together. Maybe we could watch a movie, actually have a conversation that wasn't rushed between my sleep schedule and her work commitments. When was the last time we'd had an unplanned night together? The house was dark when I pulled into our driveway. Her car was gone, which made sense. She'd be at yoga for another hour or so. I used the time to shower off the hospital smell and set up a little surprise with the food, candles, the works. By midnight, I was checking my phone, wondering if the class was running late. By 12:30, I was worried. Olivia always texted if plans changed, especially late at night. I tried calling, but it went straight to voicemail. That's when I remembered the security system. I opened the app on my phone, thinking maybe I could see when she'd left, get a sense of her timeline. The interface showed the last 24 hours of activity by default. I scrolled to around 9 p.m., expecting to see her leaving for yoga. What I saw instead changed everything. There was Olivia at 9:47 p.m., but she wasn't dressed for yoga. She wore a black dress I'd never seen before, heels that made her legs look incredible, and her hair was done in a way that had clearly taken time and effort. She was carrying an overnight bag. This wasn't someone heading to stretch and meditate with a group of supportive women. This was someone going on a date. My hands were shaking as I scrolled back through the footage. Tuesday night, there she was again, 9:52 p.m. Different outfit, but same energy. Short skirt, makeup done perfectly, that same overnight bag. And Saturday, Jesus, Saturday, she'd worn a dress that I'd complimented months ago, asking why she never wore it anymore. "I'm saving it for something special," she'd said then. Apparently she had been. I sat on our couch, the couch where she'd cuddled with me just last Sunday, talking about her yoga instructor's wisdom about authentic living, and systematically went through weeks of footage. The pattern was sickeningly consistent. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday like clockwork. Out by 10 p.m. at the latest, dressed to kill, carrying that bag. But it was the return footage that really twisted the knife. Around 5 a.m. each morning, sometimes 5:30, she'd come back looking completely different. Hair messed up, makeup smudged, clothes wrinkled. The careful outfit she'd left in was now disheveled, her heels carried in her hand instead of worn, that overnight bag looking suspiciously lighter. She'd creep in quietly, thinking I was at work, never knowing that every step was being recorded in high definition. I must have sat there for 3 hours, watching weeks of evidence play out on my phone screen. My wife, the woman I'd trusted completely, the woman I'd installed a security system to protect, had been using my work schedule as cover for a systematic affair. The mathematical precision of it was almost impressive. She knew my schedule better than I did, knew exactly when she could leave, exactly how long she had, exactly when she needed to be back to maintain the illusion. The yoga story, the women's support group, even her enthusiasm about the security cameras, it was all calculated. When she finally came home at 5:23 a.m., I was still sitting in the dark living room with the Thai food cold on the coffee table. I watched on my phone as she parked in the driveway, watched her check her reflection in the rearview mirror, watched her straighten her dress and run her fingers through her hair. I watched her become the Olivia I thought I knew. She slipped in through the front door, careful not to let it creak, and nearly jumped out of her skin when she saw me sitting there. "Nathan, oh my God, you scared me. What are you doing home?" Her voice was breathless, whether from surprise or from whatever she'd been doing for the past 7 hours. "Shift got cancelled," I said quietly. "How was yoga?" "It was intense. Really intense session tonight. Sage had us working through some deep emotional blocks. She was already moving toward the hallway, toward our bedroom, toward the shower where she could wash away whatever evidence might remain. "Must have been quite a workout," I said, holding up my phone. "You left at 9:47, it's 5:30 now. That's almost 8 hours of yoga." She froze halfway to the hallway. In the dim light I could see her calculating, trying to figure out how much I knew, how much she could still salvage. We went out afterward, for tea, to process everything we'd worked through. "In that dress." "What dress?" "The black one you've never worn around me, with the heels you're carrying in your hand right now." The silence stretched between us like a chasm. 8 years of marriage, of shared dreams and inside jokes and mundane Tuesday morning conversations, and it all came down to this moment in our dark living room at 5:30 a.m., with evidence of her betrayal literally recorded in my hands. "Nathan, I can explain—" "No," I said, standing up. "You can't. But you're going to try anyway, aren't you?" What followed was 2 hours of the most elaborate lie I've ever heard another human being tell. Olivia had an explanation for everything, and I have to admit, if I hadn't seen the footage myself, I might have believed her. The dress. She'd spilled coffee on her yoga clothes at work and had to change into something from her emergency outfit she kept in her car. The heels. The yoga studio had a strict no-shoes policy, so she'd brought them to wear afterward when they went out. The overnight bag. She'd started carrying it because some of the women in the group were going through tough times, and she wanted to be prepared if someone needed her to stay over and provide support. "You have to understand," she said, sitting on the edge of our bed while I stood in the doorway. She'd changed into her pajamas, soft, innocent cotton that made her look like the woman I'd married. "These women are dealing with really heavy stuff. Divorces, abuse situations, depression. Sometimes the sessions run long because someone has a breakthrough or someone's in crisis. Until 5:30 in the morning. Time just disappears when you're doing this kind of deep work. You know how it is when you're really focused on helping someone." I did know. I'd spent plenty of nights at the hospital where hours passed without notice because I was concentrated on saving someone's life. The manipulation was brilliant. She was using my own dedication to helping people against me. "And the tea afterward? There's this 24-hour diner where we go to decompress, talk through what came up in group, make sure everyone's emotionally stable before going home to their families." She had answers for everything, delivered with the kind of earnest eye contact that had made me fall in love with her in the first place. If I'd confronted her without the evidence, I would have apologized for being suspicious. But I had the evidence. "Show me," I said. "What?" "Your phone. Show me the messages with these women. Show me pictures from these life-changing sessions. Show me the address of this magical 24-hour diner where you process your feelings until dawn." Her face went through several expressions in rapid succession: surprise, calculation, defiance, and finally, fear. "I can't do that." "Why not?" Because what happens in group stays in group. It's about trust, Nathan. These women are vulnerable. They've shared things with me that they've never told anyone else. I can't violate that trust, not even for you. It was perfectly reasonable. It was also complete bullshit, and we both knew it. I pulled out my phone and showed her a screenshot I'd taken. Her at 9:47 p.m. in the black dress, overnight bag in hand, looking like she was heading to seduce someone rather than support women in crisis. "Explain this." She stared at the image for a long moment. I could practically see her mental gears turning, trying to construct a new layer of lies to cover the old ones. "Okay," she said finally. "Okay, you're right. I haven't been completely honest." Here it comes, I thought. The truth. Finally. There is a man involved. My stomach dropped, even though I'd known this was coming. "But it's not what you think," she continued quickly. "His name is Bradley, and he's been coming to our women's group. He's transgender, Nathan. He's transitioning, and he needed a safe space to explore his feminine side. The group decided to welcome him to help him through this incredibly difficult time." I stared at her. The creativity was almost impressive. So you're telling me that you've been dressing up and staying out until 5:30 a.m. to help a transgender person feel welcome in your women's support group? Yes, and I couldn't tell you because I wasn't sure how you'd react. I know you're not prejudiced, but this is such a sensitive situation, and Bradley's been through so much rejection already. And the overnight bag? Sometimes he gets overwhelmed and needs someone to stay with him, to make sure he doesn't hurt himself. Nathan, you have to understand, the suicide rate for transgender people is incredibly high. If being there for him means staying over sometimes, how can I not do that? How can I prioritize our bedtime routine over someone's life? Again, she was using my compassion against me. My dedication to helping people, my work in healthcare where I regularly dealt with life and death situations. She knew exactly which buttons to push. What's his last name? What? Bradley? What's his last name? Where does he work? How did he find your women's group? Nathan, I can't give you his personal information. That would be a violation of his privacy. Right, of course. I sat down heavily in the chair by our window. Olivia, I've been watching weeks of footage. I know this isn't about supporting someone through a transition. I know you're having an affair. I'm not. The protestation came out too loud, too sharp. Nathan, I swear to you, I'm not having an affair. Then prove it. How? Come with me to your next yoga session. What? If this is really about yoga and women's support groups and helping transgender people through difficult times, then bring me along. Introduce me to Sage. Introduce me to Bradley. Introduce me to these amazing women who've been such a positive influence on your life. The silence that followed was deafening. I can't do that. Why not? Because it would change the dynamic. These people need a safe space, and bringing in an outsider, especially a man, even if that man is your husband, who you claim supports your personal growth. Especially then. At least she was being honest about something. I stood up and walked to our closet. From the back corner, behind clothes she never wore, I pulled out a suitcase. What are you doing? I'm giving you a choice, Olivia. You can tell me the truth, all of it right now. Or you can pack this bag and stay wherever you've been staying until 5:30 a.m. Nathan, you're being ridiculous. I'm not having an affair. Then where do you go? I told you. Where do you go? I repeated, louder this time. Give me an address. Give me a name. Give me anything that can be verified. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. I drive around, she said finally. You drive around for 8 hours. Yes, sometimes, when I need to think. In a cocktail dress and heels. I like to feel good about myself. While carrying an overnight bag, in case I decide to get a hotel room. The lies were getting weaker, more desperate, but she was still fighting, still trying to gasket every hole I poked in her story. That's when I made the decision that would change everything. I didn't sleep that night. While Olivia finally retreated to the guest bedroom, claiming she needed space to process my accusations, I sat in my home office and did something I'd never thought I'd do. I became a detective investigating my own wife. The security footage was just the beginning. I went through months of recordings, taking screenshots, noting patterns, building a timeline that painted a picture of systematic deception. But more than that, I started investigating her story. There was no yoga instructor named Sage at any studio within 50 miles of our house. I called them all. There were no women's support groups that met on Thursday nights and Saturday nights in our area. I checked community centers, churches, libraries, even private therapy practices. The 24-hour diner she'd mentioned. There were 3 in our general vicinity. I called each one, described my wife, asked if they'd seen a regular customer matching her description who came in with groups of women in the early morning hours. Nothing. Every single detail of her story was fabricated. But the real breakthrough came when I decided to check our credit card statements, something I'd shamefully ignored for months because I trusted her completely to handle our finances. There they were, charges I'd never seen before, a monthly membership to Platinum Fitness, a gym I'd never heard her mention, purchases at Victoria's Secret, at boutique stores downtown, at restaurants where she'd apparently been eating dinner before her mysterious evening activities. And then I found it. A charge at a hotel bar called Meridian Lounge every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday for the past 2 months. Always around 10 p.m. Always for exactly 2 drinks. The hotel was 15 minutes from our house. I'd driven past it hundreds of times on my way to work. I sat in my office as dawn broke, staring at evidence of my wife's methodical betrayal, and I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I was coldly, crystallinely furious. There's a difference. Anger makes you do stupid things. Fury makes you strategic. Olivia had used my trust, my work schedule, and my genuine concern for her well-being to construct an elaborate lie that let her live a double life. She'd looked me in the eye every day for 2 months and lied about where she was going, what she was doing, and who she was becoming. Worse, she'd involved me in her deception. Every time I'd expressed pride in her personal growth, every time I'd encouraged her yoga practice, every time I'd felt guilty about leaving her alone during my night shifts, I was actually facilitating her affair. The security system I'd installed to protect her had become the evidence that would destroy our marriage. But I wasn't ready to confront her yet, because I'd realized something else. If she was willing to construct such elaborate lies, if she was willing to manipulate my emotions and use my love against me, then she didn't deserve the courtesy of a straightforward confrontation. She deserved to experience what it felt like to be locked out. That morning, while Olivia was at her day job, I called a locksmith. "I need all the locks changed on my house," I told him, "and I need it done today." "Lost your keys?" he asked. "Something like that." I also called the security company and had them change all the entry codes. Every single way into our house now required keys or codes that only I possessed. Then I called in sick to work for Saturday night. I'd never used deception in our marriage before, but Olivia had taught me that sometimes lies were necessary tools. Saturday evening, I watched from our bedroom window as she got ready for her support group. She chose a red dress this time, one that hugged every curve. She spent an hour on her makeup, another 30 minutes on her hair. The overnight bag was packed with what looked like a change of clothes and toiletries. She kissed my cheek before she left. "I might be late tonight," she said. "One of the women is going through a really tough custody situation." "Of course," I said. "Take all the time you need." I watched from the security cameras as she backed out of our driveway at 9:43 p.m., just like clockwork. Then I settled in to wait. At 5:18 a.m., the motion sensors picked up her car pulling into the driveway. I watched on my phone as she got out, looking exactly as disheveled as every other night. Hair messed up, makeup smudged, dress wrinkled, heels in her hand. She approached the front door and inserted her key. It didn't work. I watched her try again, then checked to make sure she had the right key. She tried the back door, nothing. She tried the side gate, which now had a new lock as well. Then came the phone calls. My phone buzzed at 5:31 a.m. I let it go to voicemail. 5:33 a.m. Voicemail again. 5:35 a.m. Another call. By 5:45, she was calling every 30 seconds. I watched her on the cameras, pacing our front porch in her wrinkled red dress, phone pressed to her ear, growing more frantic with each unanswered call. At 6 a.m., I finally answered. "Nathan, oh thank God, something's wrong with the house. My keys aren't working and I can't get in. Did something happen to the locks?" Her voice was breathless, panicked. There was no mention of where she'd been. No explanation for why she was trying to get in at 6 a.m. when her support group was supposed to end much earlier. "Nothing happened to the locks," I said calmly. "I had them changed." Silence. "You... what?" "I changed the locks, Olivia. All of them." "Why would you do that? Nathan, I'm locked out of my own house." "Are you? Because according to you, you were supposed to be at a women's support group that ended hours ago. So why are you just now getting home?" More silence. I could practically hear her calculating, trying to figure out how much I knew, how much she could still salvage with the right lie. We went to breakfast afterward, to talk through some things that came up in group. At a place that serves breakfast at 5 a.m.? It was an all-night diner. What's it called? What? The diner. What's it called? I'll Google it to make sure it's safe for you to be there at these hours. Nathan, please just let me in. We can talk about this inside. No, I said, we can talk about it right now, over the phone. While you're standing on our porch in that red dress that I've never seen before, holding the overnight bag that you've been carrying to your mysterious activities for the past 2 months. The silence stretched so long that I thought she'd hung up. How long have you known? She finally asked. Long enough. Nathan, please let me explain. You've had 2 months to explain. You've had hours since I confronted you Thursday night to explain. Every explanation you've given me has been a lie. I can tell you the truth now. I already know the truth, Olivia. The question is whether you're finally ready to admit it. I watched her on the camera, standing on our porch in the growing daylight, neighbors starting to leave for early morning runs, the newspaper delivery truck making its rounds. She looked small and lost, and nothing like the confident woman who'd been sneaking out for clandestine meetings for 2 months. His name is Bradley, she said finally. I know. You know? I know about Bradley, I know about the Meridian Hotel, I know about the gym membership, and the new clothes and the elaborate schedule you've constructed around my work shifts. Then why? Because I wanted to see if you'd tell me yourself. I wanted to see if there was any part of the woman I married left in there, any shred of honesty or respect or basic human decency. Nathan, please. Where is he now? What? Bradley. Where is he right now? Because you can't come home, and I'm assuming you can't go back to wherever you just came from. So where exactly are you planning to go? The question hung in the air between us. I knew the answer, but I wanted to hear her say it. I don't know. You don't know because he's married, isn't he? Because his wife is in town? Or because he never intended for this to be anything more than a convenient hookup with a married woman who had a predictable schedule? The sound that came through the phone might have been a sob. Olivia, I want you to listen to me very carefully. You have systematically lied to me for months. You've used my love for you, my trust in you, and my concern for your safety to cover up an affair. You've made me complicit in my own betrayal. I never meant for it to happen this way, but it did happen this way. And now you need to decide what you're going to do next. What do you mean? I mean you need to figure out where you're going to live while we figure out what's left of our marriage, because you're not coming back into this house until you're ready to have a completely honest conversation about who you've become and what you want. Nathan, you can't do this. This is my home too. Is it? Because for the past 2 months, you've been treating it like a hotel room between your real life and your fake one. I ended the call and watched on the security cameras as she stood on our porch, staring at her phone. She tried calling back several times, but I'd turned off the ringer. She stood there for almost 20 minutes, occasionally trying the doors again, sometimes leaning against the wall like the weight of everything was too much to bear. Finally, she walked back to her car. I watched her sit in the driver's seat for another 10 minutes, probably calling Bradley, probably realizing that whatever fantasy she'd been living was about to crash into the reality of being a woman with nowhere to go at 6:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning. When she finally drove away, I felt something I hadn't expected, relief. For the first time in months, I knew exactly where my wife was and what she was doing. She was facing the consequences of her choices. The security system had done its job after all. It had protected me from continuing to live a lie. Now I had to decide whether the woman who'd been systematically betraying me for months was someone I could ever trust again, or if changing the locks was the first step in changing my entire life. As I watched her car disappear around the corner, I realized that the answer might depend on whether she finally decided to tell me the truth, or if she'd find new lies to replace the old ones. Either way, she'd have to make that decision from somewhere else, because I was done being the guardian angel for someone who'd been living like I didn't exist. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd installed a security system to protect her, and it had ended up protecting me instead. Sometimes the best defense really is knowing when to change the locks. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life drama. Got a take on the situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing from you.